past when I'm trying to, some of the tactics. Obviously the one that's become more common at the end of this is, is there any reason you wouldn't work with us today? It's the easy. You can use that in any format. And when you're getting, we fucking freeze again. When you're getting a job, is there any reason you wouldn't hire me today? When you're doing a service, is there any reason you wouldn't work with our company? Tool, is there any reason you wouldn't sign up with us for 12 months? Then they tell you why they wouldn't. Then you see if you can answer them or not, and you don't, or you do, and you close the sale. I like one of the tactics that you talked about, which is like you did in one of your blog posts, which is at the end of almost at the end of any call, I always say, hey, I have my calendar open. I'd love to schedule a time for us to check in again. How is this day and time? Because most of the times, whenever you get off the phone, everyone goes back to the busy days of their life, so you have to reschedule the checkups. Other things I like to do, I like real-time chat. I really love when I'm on Gtalk or Skype. It just makes it easier for you to talk to the person when there's issues. Otherwise, it's like, hey, let me email. I don't know if they got my email. Did it go to spam? Are they checking their email? Are they on vacation? I think the ultimate thing that I'm actually starting to realize now, which has been pretty interesting, is just like two things. One, what makes the person look good to their boss? What makes you look good to your boss?
Yep.
Or secondly, really understanding their ROI metric. Like, what is it that's ROI for them? So for like a lot of SumoMe.com clients, it's page views, because page views equals ad dollars. So if I say, well, you make this much per page view, if I can double your page views, sounds like that's worth like $10 million to you. Is that right? Yeah. So if I'm only $20 a month, that sounds like it's kind of valuable, right? Right. And so I think the more that you can understand the priority, because what's funny in sales is sometimes people just come in and sell like, oh, we do this, we do this, we do this. I'm like, well, maybe their actual priority is something over here. And so I think if you can understand what their metric of success is, then it's much easier for you to be like, yes, I can help you increase that, or no, I cannot. And don't actually sell them, but just be in touch with them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think you said you had a couple of like little diamonds in there, really useful advice. I love the question of like, is there anything today that would stop you from ... hiring me, working with us, joining our team? I think that's such a brilliant question because it empowers and allows the other person to openly talk about the issues they might have or the things that still stop them from believing that they should do business with you or whatever you want them to do. And just it makes it comfortable for them to actually bring these things up and openly talk about them. That's awesome. It's brilliant. And as you said, once it's out there, now you can actually manage it. Now you can actually see if you can respond to it. If they're actually right and the issue they have or the problem is something that's insurmountable, or if you can actually point them into a direction of, no, we can totally deal with this and here's a solution to the mental roadblock that you had. So I think that's a brilliant question. It's an awesome question. I'm going to take into my arsenal and teach others as much as I can.
I think the thing if you're trying to do sales is that if you have something that you really think is helpful for someone, if you just go, like one of the things that's been interesting is for SumoMe.com, we're going to start charging for it early next year. And so I've been doing phone interviews with people. And I think it's funny because you could actually say these phone interviews are sales calls. But they're not sales calls. It's actually me. I take an hour and I say, let me just hear what's up with your business. Let me help you with your business. And if it's parts that I think SumoMe can help them, I'm like, oh yeah, maybe you should actually upgrade. Or do you think this is something you'd want to upgrade to? And they're like, yeah, that actually would be great for my business. And that's all I'm really ultimately doing. So don't think of sales calls. I think that maybe for a lot of people who aren't hustlers or salespeople and want to be, don't ever think of yourself as doing a sale. Think of yourself as doing an education. And you are an educator teaching them about things that they may not know about that you could benefit them if it's important to them. But think about yourself as an educator. And I know that kind of like mind shift might help a lot of people when they're selling someone. The other thing, this has actually been a really interesting thing that I've done over the years. If you're doing sales, one of the most valuable things you could do is connect that person with another person. So either a former customer of yours or current customer or another partner that will help them. And what happens there is that if you can help them right away, fine. If you can help them right away with your service, fine. But regardless is that they will always put that value back on you of like, wow, Noah connected with that guy. And I do it genuinely. I'm not just being like, well, I have to do one connection because that's the quota. I do it because I'm like, yo, you really need to talk to this guy because I think it'll help you. And I think if you're aware of that, when you do a sale, it makes it much easier for you always to try to be in the mindset of how can I help this person? And selfishly, yes, how can I also help myself if I generally think it'll benefit both of us?
That's awesome. That's a great strategy and not something that I typically thought of as like being super proactive early on in a relationship with seeing this as an easy way to create value, right? Create value and stand out from the crowd. Um, the other thing I love that you said was most really actually listening. And most people I always say that the distinction between hearing and listening, right? And most people think just because they hear the other person speak, they're really listening. But there's a massive difference in listening with the intent of understanding somebody, like actually trying to go, well, if I really wanted to understand them, do I already have enough information, right? Not just stay at the surface level, but really go deep and go, well, you told me that you need 2 red buttons in our product, but why? Why is that important? How would you click those buttons? What do you do today instead of clicking those buttons? What does everybody else in your team think about this? Like actually truly understanding somebody rather than just taking the words out of their mouth and go, oh, cool, 2 red buttons. We have 2 red buttons. You should buy our product, right? And really going for the close immediately without truly understanding the other party. I think that's super crucial and something most people totally confuse about sales. They think it's all about talking, and it's actually all about asking the right questions, listening, and then selling is easy. As you said, it's like educating them, uncovering that you have a solution once you truly understand what their problem is.
I mean, it's funny because I think what I've always, I mean, not as an arrogant thing, but like what people are like, no, you're very good at asking questions. And I know it's because my mom, it's like it's a Jewish mother thing. If you have a Jewish mother, you know.
Okay.
But I think if you literally like spent your whole, like if you had to do a conversation and you have to do 80% of the questions, like you will be a good salesperson.
Yep.
And then maybe 20% you're like, oh yeah, I can actually like help you with that. Oh yeah, here's exactly what you should do. Thank you, give me the money.
So, we talked about a bunch of stuff that's really, I think, super crucial. What are some of your hustling heroes? Who are the people that you look up to and you go, holy shit, the things that this person does, the way they approach things are just putting me to shame, making me want to raise my game, both inspirational as educational. Who are the people that you look up to as like the real, true super hustlers of the game, or people that inspire you to put your game to the next level?
So the guys at Bounce Exchange are hustling really hard. So I've been seeing them, and that's hustle hard. I mean, there's the guys I've learned from sales, like Zig Ziglar is a good guy for sales. Like Jeffrey Gitomer, I've learned from him. Keith Ferrazzi, learned from him. In terms of like local people or like internet people, Tim O'Neill, I sold against him for Facebook games, and that guy was just like a straight beast on sales. I've been trying to recruit him for days. He's been tough. I mean, who's done really well too? Like the How About We team. They've actually been able to get a lot of partnerships. If you see How About We's in a ton of different newspapers, I think they've done a really good job. Buddy of mine, I know you're asking for someone big that everyone.
No. These are actually better because there are some names everybody already recognizes. It's better to highlight some people that maybe some people
There's a guy named Lloyd Armbrust. He works for OwnLocal.com. I mean, I think what I respect is that people that persist over a long period of time. Like, it's easy to do anything for a month. It's hard to do something for 2 years when like a lot of people doubt you. And I think anybody who's like done sales consistently is a very hard thing to do. Who else has hustled really hard? I don't know. I mean, I haven't. If I could find someone that hustled really hard, I would hire them. But, I mean, I think it's even like Close.io, like that. It wasn't easy. I'm sure it's like, hey, we have this thing, it's not working. All right, we're gonna keep going and keep going and keep going. That's what I respect.
That's one thing that I always tell people, and we talked about this about sales hiring, consistency, right? Being like the key factor between somebody who might be okay or good or somebody that's truly great is actually being able to bring it consistently every single day, every day, no matter how bad their day was, no matter how bad or down they feel, no matter how great things are going. Just being consistent in the output is really fucking hard.
I would say 2 other guys. Anton from AppSumo is fucking good. He's really good. Like I learned, like I'm not a good negotiator. I'm like, how much? Because how I negotiate is this. Stelly, how much do you like? What would make you happy? That much? Does that fit my budget? Yep. Okay, good. You get it. He's like, no, it's this. I'm like, damn, that's pretty good. The second thing I think is really interesting is we were doing this hiring process for SumoMe.com. We're hiring inside sales guys. If you're interested in working with us, come on, check out SumoMe.com. And we had about 200 people apply, and 15 made it to the final round. And out of those 15, we chose 1. And he didn't get the best results. his results wasn't the best, but he had the best attitude and he had showed the most hustle.
How?
So he hasn't started yet. So in 3 months, you can ask me if that was actually a good choice.
We'll do a follow-up on that. But how did he show the best attitude and most hustle?
Well, I gave everyone a tracking sheet and a sales Bible, and I said go. And after a week, he was the only one that went. And with everyone else, I said, what the fuck are you doing? I'm not like a hard salesperson. I'm actually a soft salesman. I don't really go and be like, give me your bucket money. But with these guys, I'm like, what are you guys doing? Do you want this job or not? And everyone then started working hard, but he was the one that kind of was doing it consistently. And then I talked to him on the phone, and actually with his sales questions, he had the most thought. Like if you're applying for a job, have like 3 good questions. Like everyone was like, oh, when was AppSumo founded? I'm like, just, but he actually was thinking about, so how are you thinking about the sales process? Like, what are the common rejections? Like, how are you planning on structuring the team as you go forward? What technology should we be using? How can I be better prepared? And I was like, wow, this guy has thought. And he showed the heart, which is, what we're looking for.
Awesome. So, and I can only mirror that. I know that lots of people that watch this video either want to get into the startup sales game, get their hustle to the next level. I think that the opportunity of working, with you and working with the kind of business that you guys are building is awesome. It's an awesome sales opportunity for anyone out there. So, maybe 2 examples as we're moving towards the end of the interview. Maybe just 2 quick examples. Maybe you can think of a time where you accomplished something just because you pushed one more time, or just because you didn't stop. You hesitated. You were just about to turn around and not approach the girl of your dreams at the bar, but then you just turned around again, did a 360 and actually did it, and it turned out to be successful in business. And maybe another time where you wish you'd done that, where you think back and you're like, I think if I could have only pushed one more time or got over myself, maybe things would have turned out differently. And I regret, I've learned from it, but I know this was a specific example where I could have done better and it could have made a difference. Maybe sharing kind of a good and a bad example for this as we're winding up the interview would be awesome.
Sure. So some of the time, whenever that thing goes in your head where you're like, I should do this, but maybe anytime you start doing the left and right, like maybe no, maybe yeah, I do it. And so like last week I was at a coffee shop and this guy I'm hiring a designer, and on his laptop it was a really good design, and I was like, nah, I'll see him around, I'll come to the coffee shop, we'll be friends, it's fine, I don't know him. And then I was like, that's the moment. And so I just went up to him, I was like, hey man, I like your design, what are you working on? And he's like, oh, I'm doing this, and it's finance. And I'm like, oh, I worked at Mint. What are you up to? And now he's actually not a great designer. But, I'm glad that I went and, I overcame that moment of hesitation. I think in terms of a longer-term persistence, I use followup.cc. I always recommend it. It's my secret magic fucking weapon. It's a Jewish mother in your inbox. They never forget. And I literally will like, so what are different examples of this? This is a longer one. My dad passed away, and so the lawyers on his house have taken over 3 years to give us the money for the house, and so I literally have a monthly reminder, and I just keep bugging him. My mom always says this phrase, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that's kind of helped me be persistent. So that was one thing where I bugged him every month. When I was doing Facebook payments for games, tagged.com, I really, really wanted them, and so I probably spent about 6 months bugging him. And so, like, I didn't just send him an email. Like, I sent him a magazine subscription to running because I knew I like running. One of my favorite things with him was I said, if you take a 15-minute meeting with me, I will buy you any pair of running shoes you'd like.
Wow, nice.
That was a pretty good one.
That's a good one. That is a good one.
Don't send shitty gifts. People are so unthoughtful. I think one of the things that I'm good at is I'm observant. And not arrogantly, I'm just good at it. I like being observant. And so I know he liked running, and so then I just try to make it worth his time to meet with me. And so after 6 months, he finally used us, and then we started making like $2,000 a day. So I was like, that was good.
Nice.
In terms of regrets, man, like I have early regrets about being at Facebook and things I didn't do correctly there. And at Mint, I don't really regret much. Let me think about it, because I'd rather give you a good answer. I mean, I have my generic regret story, which is, you ever heard of a comedian, Mitch Hedberg?
No.
Check him out. He's really funny. He always has stupid jokes. He's like, and he's a stoner. He's like, "Hey man, you know, escalators can never be broken; they just become stairs." Like, "Hey man, who's doing the work, belts or the loop on the jeans, man?" I don't know, stupid shit like that. And he came to Berkeley and performed, and I was like, I'll see him next time. And then he died. He did a drug overdose, and so I never got to see him again, and that bummed me out. In terms of the business, I think my biggest regret now is that, and this is maybe because it's more current or fresh, I regret, and yeah, I regret that I didn't spend more time doing recruiting sooner. Because now, 6 months later, then I probably could have hired a lot of the people now or started 6 months ago. But instead of now, when I'm doing the holidays, which is like not a good time, that's the thing too. It's never a good time. So holidays that's for sales. If you want to do something, there's never a great time. It's like getting a speeding ticket. You're always going somewhere. And so, yeah, I would have started something. I would have tried to be a little more thoughtful or started sooner in that process.
Awesome. Hey, my man, this was super sweet. I think it's just like a ton of stuff in the interview that's really useful and valuable. Also, just like seeing, like, I really appreciate you being authentic about like, hey, listen, I also have these fears. I also feel shitty when somebody rejects me. And kind of like letting down the facade that everybody thinks they see of like, oh, there are these people that don't have these feelings, don't have these struggles. Yep. So hence, that's why they can be successful versus me. I have to deal with all these demons inside, and I don't feel that comfortable doing all these crazy things. No, man, we all feel the same thing. It's just about some people who've learned the habit, which I love your inner dialogue left and right and going, that's the moment where I have to step into action and do something. Like some people just build up the muscle of doing it anyways. Just doing it anyways, right?
It doesn't really ever get easier. Like if you want to do it in like another way, you could always think of it as dating. Like when you're at a place and you just want to go talk to someone, that's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So it never gets easier. Just practicing it and eventually finding something you're excited to go share with people.
I love that. That's the final note, folks. It never, ever, ever will get easier. How's that for like motivation and inspiration at the end? Awesome.
That's a little sad. It doesn't ever get easier. But I think it's like as long as you're doing the thing you want to do with good people, then it makes it worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, my man, I so appreciate your time. I appreciate your hustle, and I'm inspired by it every day. Hey, quick, before we hang up, we pitched now a couple of times from different angles, people that are awesome at design or sales or anybody else reaching out and maybe seeing an opportunity working with you. What's the best email to send you an email?
Find my email address and email me if you really want a job with me.
That's what I thought you'd say next. Awesome. All right, my man.
Most people like you put up a little barrier.
And that's it. They're already out of the game. All right. Or even better, find his address and subscribe to some. Subscribe him to some.
Yeah, man, I got you fishing monthly. I'm like, I don't even fish.
But
I'll let you go.
All right, my man. Thank you so much. Thanks. Bye-bye.